Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, day number 9. We're at the end of April's XD Daily Creative Challenge, but don't fret. We're definitely going to have one in May. And if you've been following the news, we've got some big updates coming in May, from components to fully linked assets, guides. We've got, what else do we have coming in May? We have a lot of text transformations, a lot of great stuff, keyboard triggers, gamepad triggers. So maybe some of that stuff will be used during next month's Daily Creative Challenge. Who knows? But a big good morning to everyone who's joining me live here on Behance this morning, including Luca and Kita and Suyag and Lena and Michelle and Gary and El Barbis. I love that name. I'm probably mispronouncing it. Stephen and Bagdul. If I mispronounce anyone's name, I apologize. But good morning, everyone. Paco is in the house, and speaking of Paco, he's probably in San Francisco right now, getting ready for Talon's stream right after me. I believe Talon and Alex are going to be up at 12 o'clock Pacific time, talking about all things Adobe XD, so definitely stick around for that. And if you are joining me, let me know where you are joining me from. I'm streaming live from Los Angeles right now. Paco's probably sitting waiting in San Francisco for the next stream to start up, but I always love hearing where people are all around the world. Now, usually on these last day streams, we cover that day's challenge, which is day number 9, and then we go crazy and review a bunch of work that's come in over the last 2 weeks. But because of the new schedule, it's going to be a little bit difficult. We're probably going to have to do it some other time because we got Talon and Alex right after me. So depending on how long it takes me to get through today's challenge, we might have to push it until some other time. But we've got Luca from London and Josh from Colorado, Alexandre from Brazil, and Carmen from Oregon, Daniel from Ohio, Larissa also from Brazil, and Andrew from Ireland, Dublin. Awesome. So let me hop over to my screen right over here. This is the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge landing page, behance.net/daily creative challenge. And El Barbas is saying, what if we do a stream on Monday? Possibly. I'll talk to the team and see. I know next week is pretty crazy, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. So head over here if you haven't checked out the XD Daily Challenge just yet. It is coming to an end today, at least the XD side of things. Next week, I believe, will be Photoshop, and then 2 weeks after that, we're back with XD, which is going to be great. So just to recap what the XD Daily Challenge is, every single day you're going to receive a challenge, and then 11:30 in the morning, you're going to join me every single day except the weekends to kick off whatever that challenge is, give you a little bit of inspiration, and then you're going to share your work, your prototypes, your designs on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. That way, myself and the team can jump in here and just scroll and browse through all your amazing challenges. There's been hundreds that have come in over the last 2 weeks, which is amazing, and I've been looking at almost every single one every single morning, which is great. And then, April 29th is when things switch over to Photoshop. So if you want to get those in, definitely get those into Behance by April 29th. And, maybe sometime next week we'll start reviewing some of this stuff. Down here, grab XD. It's free, which is great. Join us on Discord. Let me hop over to Discord here. Here's Discord. And we've got, I think, anywhere between 23 and 2,500 people in Discord. It's a good time. Introduce yourself. Let us know who you are, what you do for a living. If you want feedback on your designs, you can hop in design feedback section. There's a lot of people chatting about their designs. There's also some great mentors in here all the time giving some wonderful feedback. And I love when all of you drop your stuff in the feedback section and actually take that feedback from mentors and make some changes. And then if you receive feedback, turn it around and give some feedback to someone else who might be wanting it. So, what about the challenges? Well, last week we started with a drop-down menu. We went to an upload file experience, pagination, social share, leaderboard, calculator, send cash, interactive map, and then today we're finishing things off with a smart TV movie rental experience. So with that being said, let me hop over to Adobe XD. And here is the template you're going to be working with. You can download it directly on the Behance page. And a big thank you to Marissa, XO Pixel, or is it XOX Pixel? Is she in, let's see if she's in She's not online right now, but I think it's Exopixel. Marissa put together these amazing templates for the entire 2 weeks. So if you see her in Discord or in Slack or in chat here, definitely thank her. She's done a lot of great work for us. So again, today's challenge is to design a smart TV movie rental experience using Adobe XD. We're going to design, we're going to prototype, we're going to be using plugins. It's going to be a good time. And there's a lot of different assets you can use to get started, from colors and character styles to buttons, cards, bars. And then if you just really want to dive in there and just get started, there's pretty much a movie carousel right here at the top. You can always just start with that. But we're going to create our own. I'm going to show you how to do something similar to this using repeat grids and various other Adobe XD techniques. So I'm going to grab my Artboard tool over here to the left, and we're going to start off with a web artboard right down here, 1920. There we go. Boop. Perfect. And we're using 1920 because typically our TVs, even though there's 4K TVs and 8K TVs, typically they're 1920 by 1080. That's at least the majority of TVs right now. And even if you are designing for 4K, you can always expand this artboard holding down Shift, or you can lock the dimensions over here and then increase it to 4K just to keep that 16 by 9 ratio. That's the one. Alrighty, so for here, we're gonna have a few different elements. We're gonna start with a nice big image in the background, which is kind of, if you look at the inspiration at the top, I'm a big fan of Netflix, and they have these, full window trailers that you can kind of watch as you're browsing some of the content. So we're gonna start with something like that. And to do that, I'm simply gonna grab my rectangle and just draw a rectangle across the entire artboard. And if you're brand new to Adobe XD, the cool thing about XD is any shape can be used as a mask. So now that I have this rectangle, I can hop over to Finder. I've got a bunch of different movie images that I grabbed from Google, and Luca is asking about no feedback from the challenge today. Unfortunately, probably not, only because of the new time schedule. I have a stream right after me. Talon's gonna be on, so there's only half an hour or 25 minutes to cover all of this, so probably not, but we will find time to review some stuff. So with that said, I'm gonna grab this awesome image from How to Train Your Dragon, the second one, I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna drag it directly into XD on top of that mask, and it's automatically gonna pop it into place. So now we need a few additional elements. We need titles, we need some navigation text at the top. So I'm gonna grab my text tool. Let's start with home. And for this, I'm gonna make it a little bit larger. I'm just gonna drag out this handle at the bottom, just a little bit larger, not super large because we don't wanna overwhelm it. I'm gonna use a Cumin Pro, and we'll go for this one. This will be bold. Perfect. And next text is going to be, let's go for TV shows. We don't want this one to be bold. We'll set it at about medium because this one will be one of the non-active. Home is going to be active. TV shows is going to be non-active. We'll have another one. This one will be movies. And then one more. This might be my list. Or let's go for favorites. Perfect. All right, now if I select all of these, I can make sure they're all lined up really nicely by pressing this icon right at the top, which is distribute horizontally. It'll take a look at the last one, the first one, and line everything up nicely in between. I'm gonna make sure to group all this stuff in my layers panel, and this will be nav links. Make sure to center it in my document. Boop, there we go. Now, obviously you're taking a look at this and you're probably wondering, things are kind of blending in with the background. That's the kind of the tricky part whenever you're working with a full width image that kind of goes in the background, is no matter what color text you're working with, it's going to blend in at some point, right? So to solve that, what we're going to do, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, draw out a box across somewhere right about here, and then under my fill, I'm going to turn on linear gradient, and we're going to have a gradient in the background. So both colors are going to be set to black. But the one at the very bottom, this one here, I'm just gonna set the opacity down to 0. Now if I move this behind the navigation links, all of a sudden it starts popping out. And I can probably decrease the opacity overall just a little bit, just so it's not super dark. And if I had to, I can always make this a little bit narrower, play around with the opacity, just so that those links kind of pop at the top. Perfect. All right, next thing we need some text to kind of let viewers know what it is that they're actually looking at. So I'm gonna grab my text tool one more time, and this I'm gonna type out how to train your dragon. Perfect, make that definitely a lot bigger. And for this one, because it's the title of this movie, we're gonna go for a nice black width or black weight for this font. Perfect, that looks good right about there. I'll leave it somewhere around there. And right underneath, we need a few other elements. We need some buttons to actually play this or rent it. And then we need some text to kind of describe what this movie is. So zooming in here, I'm gonna grab my rectangle, draw out a button. This will be the play button. Make it nice and large. And just because I've been adding a background blur to pretty much every single challenge, I'm gonna press background blur and just mess around with the settings just a little bit. And maybe I'll add a little bit of a border, not too much of a border, but I'm gonna add a border with a slightly dropped opacity, just like that, just to give it a little bit of flavor. Perfect. All right, now we need some text. This will be play. Now that's definitely too big, and we probably don't want it super bold. So we'll just do semi-bold, drop that down a touch. And we also need some sort of a play icon. Now I could use an icon, or could go over here and look for a play icon, but we can also, let's see if we have a play icon here. Do we? I don't know if we do. We may not. I don't see one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna create our own. I'm gonna zoom far in, and very soon you'll be able to just use the polygon tool in XD, but that's not available just yet. But I'm just gonna draw out a triangle, just like this. Super simple, and I press Command or Control and then the little apostrophe or the quotes to turn on my grid. I can do that again to turn it off, make it white. And then if I need to, I can adjust some of this stuff like that. And there we go. We've got a little play button. Beautiful. All right, make sure all this stuff lines up really nicely. It's close enough. Doesn't have to be perfect right now. And then I can group all these elements and call this button. Perfect. All right. Now that we've got a button there, we need one more button over here. This will be the rental experience. And this, I'll just type in rent movie. I don't want that button, but I do want, for this one, Andrew's asking, how long have I used XD before? I started using XD on day number 1 when it was Project Comet. So I've definitely been using it for quite a while. And it's evolved like crazy since I started using it back in, I think it was 2015 or beginning of 2016. They announced it in 2015. And I think the first beta actually shipped in I want to say it was 2016, but I could be wrong. And let me know in the chat. So Project Comet was the name of the beta, but what was it before that? Before it actually became a beta, what was XD? Let me know in the chat. So I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna make a nice little border, turn off the fill. Maybe I'll keep the fill on. No, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just keep it like that. That looks fine. I'll undo this, because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just messing around. Okay, there we go. So we've got 2 buttons now. We've got a play, we've got rent movie. And now we need some area at the bottom for some actual text. So I'm just gonna grab my text tool one more time, drag that out, just like this. I can type out whatever. It's obviously a little bit too big, make that smaller. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is, since I don't want to type out a whole paragraph, we probably don't have time for that, up to the plugins menu, lorem ipsum, fill with text, boom, boom, all these features that look great, bam, we got some text. Now obviously we're gonna change the settings just a little bit, just like that. Let's do that one more time. Perfect. All right. So we've got all this stuff in place. That might look a little bit too large. Make it a little bit smaller. Great. Now I'm going to group all these elements, and I'm going to call this header. I can move this. Now we're coming into the same problem we did before, where some of the text is blending in with the background. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this, this gradient at the top that I created before, duplicate it, Command and Control D, and then just flip it. Boop, just like that. And I can move it down to the bottom. Don't want the whole thing, but we do want just to about there, just so we can kind of pop the text away from the background so it doesn't blend in too much. All right, so now that we have kind of our home screen set up and ready to go, obviously I'd probably make some changes because the buttons are blending in a little bit, but for now, we will go ahead and leave them. We need some movies. So I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool. We're gonna use a repeat grid for this, but I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool, just draw one out just like this. Now I might want to extend my artboard downwards a little bit, just so I can see all of my movies, and might want to change the background to black. Perfect. Alrighty. Now in this, I'll also want to make sure the opacity is set to 100%. That way it just blends in with the artboard in the background so you can have a nice seamless scrolling experience. Alrighty, so I got my one rectangle. We want a few additional movies. I'm going to pull this in a touch, and I'm going to create a repeat grid. So right over here to the right, I'm going to press repeat grid. Boop, there we go. And drag this out. We'll have, let's say, 4 movies going across. Make sure this is centered in my document. Grab the header, move that over. And now that I have these 4 movies, back over in Finder, I can just grab any of these images. Let's go ahead and say these images, let's go for these 4, and just drag them directly into XD, and it's automatically going to mask them into place. And if I need to, I can always double click on any of those masks and just move everything around. Now there's also another way you can add movie posters. So let me go ahead and duplicate this downwards. I'm actually going to ungroup it because this plugin does not work with repeat grids just yet. And let me set the fill of all these just back to white. Make it 100% opacity. There we go. So now what we can do is, with a bunch of rectangles or a circle selected, if you go to your plugins menu and then you go down to generate movie posters, but if you haven't installed that plugin yet, definitely go to discover plugins. You can find a ton of different plugins for XD. There's always new ones being added, but that one is called generate movie posters. You press on that. You can enter the year. So let's say I want movies from 2018. You can filter by genre if you wanted to, and generate posters. And it's automatically going to populate a bunch of posters inside of those selected shapes, which is super cool. Again, it doesn't work with repeat grids just yet, but hopefully that will be an update they will be adding at some point in the future. All right, so now that we've got kind of our base screen here, we want to actually create an animation and an interaction. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to start by ungrouping this repeat grid now that I have a few images and movie posters set up, because I do want to animate some of this stuff. So I'm going to ungroup this grid just by right-clicking and pressing ungroup grid. And yeah, to those who are asking, I just went on Google, searched top movies of 2019 or top movies of 2018, and just grabbed a bunch of those images. So now that that's done, maybe we want, when someone clicks on, let's say, A Star is Born, that movie will become highlighted up here. So we're going to duplicate this artboard over to the right. And for this, I'm going to grab this image, move it up here, make it nice and large. Now this image in the background obviously doesn't make sense, so I'm simply going to fade it out, just like that. I'm going to grab my header information, move that up here, and this I can start changing to A Star is Born. And these images I might want to kind of shift inwards a little bit. Now let me take a look. How far apart were these? This was about 20 pixels. We want to make sure to keep things nice and consistent. There we go. Perfect. There we go. That's looking, let me make this a little bit smaller, just so I can move that down so it's not too close to the top. Great. All right, so now that we have that set up, and the cool thing about XD is when you're animating these things, all you have to do is design both states. So this is state number 1, this is state number 2, and now we can make sure that this is wired up correctly. So if we go to prototype mode right here at the top, in this case, we want a user to be able to tap on A Star is Born. So we're going to drag that handle over to the second artboard. Now, the cool thing is, let me give you a little bit of a hint into the future, is in the May update, we're introducing keyboard and gamepad triggers. So if you are designing a movie rental experience for, let's say, a smart TV, you'll be able to use a controller like the Xbox One controller or the PS4 controller and actually navigate these prototypes using those gamepads, which is going to be super cool. But that's coming in May, so not just yet. So I have this on the second artboard. I do want a tap trigger. And I do, instead of an animation, instead of a transition, I want auto animate. So I'm going to select that. We're going to do, let's go for an ease in and out. So kind of slow at the beginning and slow at the end, but nice and quick in the middle. And we'll do, let's try 0.6 seconds. And yeah, Suyag is saying you can also use voice. Maybe we'll get into that. Last time I had some issues because my microphone is being wired through. It may not work properly on my end, but it will work on your end. So now that that's set up, I'm going to press play. It went on my second screen. I can scroll down, click, and there we go. Now we have our animation and our next challenge, or next screen, next movie. We also need a back button. So let's go ahead and see if we have some sort of a back button. We do. We have this back button here provided by Marissa. So I'm going to pop that over here. I'll just pop it here. Probably doesn't make too much sense to have it there right now. Let me actually get rid of this in the background, or at least turn down the opacity on this one. Make this nice and large, just so it's kind of minimalistic. There we go. So now that we have a back button, we can move this over a little bit. And next month, we're going to have guides. So things like this will be much easier to do and navigate. Someone's saying, please do next XD challenge for voice skills, either Google or Alexa. Yeah, I think we'll probably definitely add some sort of voice interactions. We do usually throw it in, and I try to mention it from time to time, but yeah, I'll see if we can add some in for May. So now that that's set up, we can grab the back button right there, drag this back to the first artboard. All the properties are maintained. So let's see this in action one more time. We can scroll, we can tap on a movie. It's going to pop up there, and we can press back to go back. Super cool. And if we wanted to, we can even get more crazy, right? So what we can do is grab this image here, A Star is Born. Let's go back over here, and we're going to put it in the background. So I'm going to do that, make this nice and large. Maybe adjust the mask a little bit, just to get rid of that text. Move this to the back. And maybe just drop the opacity a little bit. There we go. Let's see how this is looking. Press play. A Star is Born. And it kind of fades in, and the other one in the background fades out. Perfect. Now let's do a few more just to kind of wrap things up. And of course, once all of you are doing your experiences, I really want to see how creative you can get with, renting a movie, seeing more details. Maybe, you know what? Let's add some stars. Why not, right? So let's go ahead. Do we have any stars over here? We should have at least one star somewhere. Do we have a star? We've got to have a star somewhere. If not, we're going to add some stars. I'm sure there's a star here. I just can't see it because there's so much pressure right now. So I'm going to go over to Nucleo. I'm just going to search star. There's lots of stars. Here's a great star. I'm going to drag this into XD. I'll just copy it, move it over here, and just add some stars here. I'll make a white star, just like that. Make it a little bit larger. I haven't seen this movie. Is this a 5-star movie? Well, it is now. And with my repeat grid, I'm just going to drag this out. And now it's a 5-star movie. You know what? Maybe it's a 4.5-star movie. And then right behind it, I can just make it 5 stars, turn down the opacity a little bit. And now it's a 4.5-star movie. There we go. So now that we've got some stars, we can see this in action one more time. We can scroll, star, bam. Those stars we can also add some animation. So if those stars are present on the first artboard, let me go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna copy them, paste them here. I do want the opacity to be turned down, but I also want to adjust the repeat grid so that it looks kind of like this, right? Now I'm gonna turn down the opacity to 0 to all of these. That way we can't see it on this artboard. And then if I play this, watch very closely when the stars kind of reveal themselves. You can kind of see it. They kind of went in from the left and they went all the way over to the right. And you can continue scrolling. You can go back and it's a good time, right? Alrighty. So that will just about do it for today. Again, your challenge is to design a movie rental experience for a smart TV. And of course, we didn't really cover the actual rental experience because I kind of want to leave it up to all of your imaginations. We covered how to create the home screen and how to actually see one of the individual movies, but definitely upload your creativity on Behance. I'm really looking forward to looking at some of that stuff, and I will connect with the team to see when we can go ahead and review a lot of the stuff that has come in over the last few weeks. But hop into Discord, post your stuff in the design feedback section. We have a lot of great mentors who are in there all the time taking a look at some of that stuff. And stick around in just a few minutes. Talon and Alex are coming up with more XD goodness. So I'll see you all. Gosh, when will I see you all? Another challenge in May. Maybe I'll see you all then, hopefully sooner. All right, thanks so much, everyone, and I'll see you later.